Well, I mean, the significant point about following these platforms that are very popular in Iran is that they've gone very quiet in terms of voices coming from Iran. So typically, I would have hundreds of posts on my Instagram account from Iranian users, and it's kind of gone silent. Maybe there's one or two users I see come along who have privileged access to certain internet networks. So the chatter is very low, although there is a lot of obviously footage and videos being sent to the right contact points, citizen journalists who are working in the diaspora who are receiving these videos and trying to verify them and repost them. And I think part of the reason why there is this kind of mass disruption, there's about 90 to 93% of the global internet connections in Iran are down right now. And you can really understand why the government would want to be doing this, because there's a lot of harrowing images of violence, of even protesters being killed. And I can see that they don't want these videos to be spread throughout the country because it can create further hysteria than there already is.
And how powerful a tool is it for the authorities to cut the internet like that? Or is there other ways that people inside Iran can group together to try and arrange these protests?
Certainly, the protests are still going on despite the fact that we're seeing the, most significant internet disruption since 2009 in Iran. People are using, SMS and telephone lines to connect to each other. Just within the past hour, though, I've been hearing reports about how telephone lines are being disrupted as well. So these efforts to really stop communication are quite intense in Iran right now. But obviously, since Friday, people have been on the streets. I mean, Saturday morning, I woke up to follow the chat on Waze, for example, to coordinate where to go to stop their cars in the middle of Tehran. So this kind of mobilization, connection has already been established before a lot of people have been cut off. And I guess a lot of this is happening through traditional means, going offline. I know there's a lot of different digital rights activists trying to promote things like mesh networks, which is, connecting through other networks that don't belong to the global internet. The national internet is, working, which has been the government's plan all along. I mean, since 2010, they've been trying to create this national internet infrastructure. So come the moment when these shutdowns occurs, national platforms like banking infrastructure and things like that could carry on working.
So that's sort of like a protected internet, something more like an intranet that companies might have. Now, we've been hearing there about the warnings coming from the Revolutionary Guard in Iran. How concerned do you think the authorities are by these protests?
So I think I mentioned how since 2009, over the past 10 years, there's been this real effort to create, a national information network, a national internet infrastructure, but there's also been a concerted effort, I think, for offline means as well. So over the past few years, there's always been news of new heads of, paramilitary organizations in different provinces, new kind of innovative changes to how these apparatuses are working. And we can really see by the swift kind of reaction and various different efforts to try to scare people from being on the streets that they've really planned this and thought this through since the past 10 years to try to, revitalize ways to repress both offline and online.